And one of them is our state's governor, Ron DeSantis. And I'll tell you what, he's obviously getting a little fed up with the media narrative in the state.
He should have never visited the White House.
Well, he's picked up a few tips from Trump, hasn't he?
Right.
I mean, he a very Trumpian press conference that he gave, what was that, about not quite a week ago, so sometime last week, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, he gave a press conference, and he had Vice President Pence there. And, he was almost, doing the same thing that President Trump does, where he does these helicopter press conferences where he's on the way to some place where he's going to walk out to Marine One, his helicopter, and he stops and talks to the press, but he's kind of like a man in motion. And Governor DeSantis, parroted that style and did that same sort of thing. And I thought he had some really interesting things to say, and I don't think the media is covering this far and wide because he points the finger right at the media with their doom and gloom predictions.
Oh, yes, he does.
About the coronavirus, right? How horrible it was going to be. And hopefully, I know our attention spans have been radically shortened by social media and the way that we interact now. And we're forgetting things that happened even just a short time ago. I think that's a disturbing trend. But hopefully you can remember just like a month or two ago when the media was saying that Florida was going to be a giant graveyard of coronavirus because we weren't doing as aggressive of a shutdown as, say, New York or California. And for sure, because we weren't obeying the masters at the federal level who said, you got to shut everything down. Everybody needs to stay at home, stay inside their homes. You can't even go to work. You can't go to the store. You go outside, you have to wear a mask, and so on and so forth. Because we weren't as aggressive as they wanted us to be, we were going to all die. That's what they told us. I don't know if you remember that. That's what they told us. And guess what? That didn't happen because they don't know what they're talking about. And that's just proved over and over and over again. They talk as though they know what they're talking about, and they're scientists and medical doctors and professionals and, they're authority figures, and we assume that they would know what they're talking about. And a lot of us give them the authority that the media tells us we should give them. We say, well, we can't go against Fauci or others because they know what they're talking about, and they're scientists and they're specialists, and we have to listen to them. But the truth is they don't know what they're talking about. So I hope you guys can see the pattern. I hope you can see the repeated pattern over and over and over again. They are wrong about what they tell us, but they tell us like they know exactly what they're talking about, and they're right. And that's the way the media portrays it. And so you can see some of this. The governor's obviously fed up with the media spin and the media narrative. And I want you to hear directly from the governor here because this is great stuff.
Our data is available. Our data is transparent. In fact, Dr. Birx has talked multiple times about how Florida has the absolute best data. So any insinuation otherwise is just typical partisan narrative trying to be spun. And part of the reason is that because you got a lot of people in your profession who waxed poetically for weeks and weeks about how Florida was going to be just like New York. Wait 2 weeks, Florida's going to be next. Just like Italy, wait 2 weeks. Well, hell, we're 8 weeks away from that, and it hasn't happened. Not only do we have a lower death rate, well, we have way lower deaths generally, we have a lower death rate than the Acela Corridor, D.C., everyone up there. We have a lower death rate than the Midwest, Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. But even in our region, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida has the lower death rate. And I was the #1 landing spot from tens of thousands of people leaving the #1 hot zone in the world to come to my state. So we've succeeded, and I think that people just don't want to recognize it because it challenges their narrative, it challenges their assumption, so they got to try to find a boogeyman. Maybe it's that there are black helicopters circling the Department of Health. If you believe that, I got a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you.
Last question.
He's standing there very presidential in front of the vice president.
Yeah, I know. Well, you don't think he's demonstrating? Hey, I could be like Trump. I could be the next President Trump.
I bet we see that one day down the road. I don't know how many years, but as a political ad campaign.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's picking up on it. And Governor DeSantis hasn't been the most visible or vocal in terms of interacting with the media and trying to give speeches, but I think he's really hit on a tone here. This kind of character, this person who is fed up with the media, that tone, that character works very well for President Trump and his team. And I think that's what Governor DeSantis is doing. He's sort of parroting what Trump has done so successfully in attacking the media. But here's the thing. He's not just, these gentlemen are not attacking, these public officials are not attacking the media for no reason. That's why this behavior resonates. See, if they were wrong, if the media was as honest as the day is long, if the media was fair and shooting us straight, these kind of demonstrations, these kind of actions, this type of tone would not work because people would reject it. It resonates with people, though, because people see it. They see the media lies told over and over and over again as though they were truth. And, some people call it gaslighting. I mean, there's a bunch of different terms for it, a bunch of words we could use for the concept. But the concept is pretty simple, and that is that the media is lying to us for a purpose. They're propagandizing us because they want us to think about issues in a certain way. And just to tie in with this coronavirus, thing, because to me, this is huge news. And why isn't this front page news? Why isn't this next story the top of the ticket? Because isn't this important? I mean, wouldn't it be great if coronavirus didn't kill as many people as we thought it killed? I mean, wouldn't that be newsworthy? If suddenly we realize that, all this doom and gloom scenario, all this worldwide pandemic going to kill 1/10 of the people on the earth. I mean, now, granted, I don't know if anyone's ever said that, but, that's the kind of tone that they've had, that this is going to be some kind of civilization-changing pandemic. Well, the CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, just came out with a report. And you won't see this in the news anywhere. That's what blows my mind. You won't see this anywhere. But they estimated, based on all the data that we have now, today, they estimated the death rate of people who catch the coronavirus. And you want to know what it is? Because now we've heard now for months, right? We've heard it could be 3-4% of people who get it actually die from it. And, of course, you say, well, but if you look at Italy, I mean, Italy was terrible. It was close to 10% of the people who caught it died from it, right? Well, and you got to remember those numbers are skewed because it's only people who have symptoms who come in and get tested. All the asymptomatic carriers never get tested. So the actual number of people who catch it may be much, much larger, driving the death rate lower. But the CDC estimated it, and it is 0.26%. 0.26%.
A fourth of 1%.
A quarter of 1%. You got it. That's the CDC. That's the current data by our best experts. Now, what you won't hear is the media talking about this, but the coronavirus, according to the data, according to the scientists at the CDC, is simply not as deadly as the media has led us to believe. It's simply not. And we can all see that. And we can see it in our state here of Florida. We can see that we haven't had the deaths. Now, what the heck happened in New York? I don't know. I mean, what can explain what happened in New York? Could it be over-reporting? Could it be that the people were dying and they were just reporting them as coronavirus deaths? I mean, it's got to be something, right? Because when we look at the actual data itself, the death rate on coronavirus, per the CDC, is 0.26%. And that's something the media is not telling you. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.